Hey everybody, welcome to Connecting Cannabis, brought to you by Wrazel. I'm your host, Brian Holler. Today joining us is Michael Lamb and Kellie Seringer of Medicus. Medicus is a hedge fund that specializes in cannabis, publicly traded cannabis companies. Thank you so much for joining us today, Kellie and Michael. How are you?
We're doing great.
Great, thanks for having us.
My pleasure.
Well.
Of course. So let's hop right on into it. So what is Medicus, or, how did Medicus come about is a better question.
Medicus is a fund that was started under the Symmetry Capital family of funds. Symmetry Capital has always managed healthcare funds in the past, mostly in biotechnology, medical devices, since 2001. And we decided to start Medicus at the beginning of this year because we see an opportunity in cannabis, unlike anything we've seen since biotechnology in the 90s, technology in the early 2000s. We think cannabis is poised to be that next big sector over the next couple years. And so we thought it was that exciting that we would start a fund to do that.
That's excellent. And, we at Wrazel would certainly agree with that. Ultimately, being in healthcare, I would guess, gives you guys a lot of great synergy as you look into cannabis. Would you agree that your experiences have really helped kind of stand this fund up and kind of push it?
I would agree that there's a lot of overlap in healthcare and cannabis, and it's the reason that I got excited about it. Michael has more of an experience with the recreational side of cannabis for many years, but there's a tremendous amount of medicine involved in cannabis, whether it be CBD, CBG, cannabis itself, that I think is still unraveling as the data comes out. So that it's not just the investment experience that we have in this, but it's also the overlap of what the potential is for this compound.
During the beginning phases of starting out, I was spending the majority of my time in capital markets on the fixed income side, but the last 3 years have been doing an extreme deep dive into research and into the cannabis space, public markets, public space, private. And as Kellie had just said, I spent the majority of my life working with different people in the cannabis space on the ground, growers, distributors. And so bringing those relationships into our fundamental research gives us an opportunity to be able to not only have the fundamental research of, let's say, balance sheet and conversations with C-suite people, but also, more importantly, in my world, is to be able to talk with growers who are designing different types of flower to go from seed to sale, different types of strains for edibles, for infused beverages, and other consumable products. So that when you match those, and those are, a lot of those companies are private or individual, but it still remains to be following through those cultural likes and dislikes into the dispensaries. And so we can match that type of on-the-ground research with what Kellie does quite a bit is the fundamental and balance sheet type of money management like that she has had for many, many years. So it's a good mix. It's a good match for the two of us.
Yeah, it very much sounds like it. A very good kind of synergy between the two of you to, definitely benefit the cannabis community, essentially. So what are the criteria that you guys look at when kind of evaluating companies?
Well, it's manyfold, but as far as the division of labor is concerned, my research is really more towards, as I was discussing before, the strain and the different types of popularity of the marketplace.
Right.
And then Kellie, we laugh about this quite a bit because I get really excited about a company and I'm like jumping up and down and we've got to add this to our portfolio. And then Kellie puts her analysis hat on it and sets me down like a little boy and says, okay, it's way too expensive now. We can't buy it, but let's keep it on our radar. But that's so Kellie's experience over 20 years in hedge fund managing. I have to defer to her evaluations because I get excited about the people and the products and where they are located in the public market.
Yeah.
But it's like everything. It's only a good deal on the when you buy at the right price.
Yeah, I can relate very much, Michael, because as you guys know, at Wrazel, we are looking at a variety of investment opportunities and helping clients kind of find capital in a variety of ways. I tend to be the you, Michael, in this scenario. I'll talk to people. I'm researching. I'm looking at them, and I'm like, oh, this is great. They have this amazing product. This service. Oh, the growth potential is amazing. Like the market's perfect for it. And then I go to our investment team and our finance team, and they're like, well, Brian,
calm down.
Yeah, calm down, buddy. That is a good opportunity, but we got to do this first, and they have to have this come in. And my point is, it really does take all sides to really examine thoroughly the opportunity, and that you guys put such attention on that, of course, with your ample experience is just really, really beneficial for the companies that you work with.
That, and I would add that, for me, management is one of the most important things. And to that end, we like to go visit our management teams on the sites and kick the tires. So, I tend to go visit the companies, not now during COVID-19, but, for the most part, I'm on the road traveling to see the companies because I like to talk to the people that are working there. And that's how you get a real sense of how the company is run and the trajectory for the companies.
And on an ESG standpoint, it's really important for us to see
ESG
for impact investing, for us to see how the workforce is being treated.
Yep.
We want to make sure that the companies that we have in our portfolio are companies that are where they treat every rank and file employee the same that they would be in the C-suite.
Right.
Because if you go through research, especially in the impact investing, you realize is that the majority of companies that have that type of discipline throughout their company are more profitable at the end. And what's very interesting about in the cannabis space is, and as we're a woman-owned company, Kellie owns the company, there's finally a larger and larger percentage of women, minorities, and multicultural people within the C-suite. Which is really refreshing, and we that's one of our screens also to be for a company to join our portfolio. We want socially impacted companies,
right? Well, and that's so. Anyway, go ahead, Michael. Sorry. Oh, and
so when we do our company visits, that's something that that's a very important portion, but along with everything else that we're looking at as far as the strategy of a public company.
Yeah, it's a big differentiator from a lot of other kind of funds or firms that do similar things. That kind of hands-on approach, that personalized attention. Not all funds are created equal that way, and you guys know that. And ultimately, to be, I think that's really, really important that you guys do that because, like Michael was saying, cannabis space, very important. Community is very important. Building is very important. Partnerships are very important. The culture is very important. And in my opinion, especially if you're kind of new to the space, a great way to ingratiate yourself is personalized approach, very much hands-on, educational, informative, and to be a fund that really emphasizes that, that really just, in my opinion, really puts you guys ahead of the game Medicus, in my opinion. There are some other things that you guys emphasize that kind of differentiate you as well. As far as I know, you're talking about things like passion and transparency, liquidity. Could you elaborate on that a little more about what separates you from perhaps other funds?
Well, thanks for talking about kind of our three pillars for our passion, transparency, and liquidity. And the reason why we're very tied to the public markets, the passion, and obviously is the passion that Kellie and I have for the cannabis industry. And then also the transparency is very important for us due to it differentiates the private sector from the public sector. Everything that we invest in has transparency, whether it's all of the quarterly announcements, whether it's the change in the C-suite, whether it's closing down or opening different dispensaries. All of that information is public information that we can chew on, yep. and that our investors can see. There isn't a time when, or hopefully there's not a time when you have things hidden. Sometimes in private investing that can happen, and then liquidity is probably one of the most important aspects of this, because in the private sector, in most cannabis investing, there's a duration usually of close to 5 to 7 years where an investor's money is locked up. And unfortunately, in this current crisis, that duration is moved a little longer because everything has slowed down a little bit. Whereas in the public markets, in the public equity arena, we can value our portfolios on a daily basis. There's no differentiation in valuation of the company. The market is telling us what the value is. Right. So we have a current update every day, and with investors having liquidity need or a liquidity event in their lives, or they just want to be out of this environment, they can get it. Yeah. I mean, it's liquid. It's liquid. We go in, we hit our electronic trading, their portion has been liquidated, and their money's available.
Yep.
But
that's a big advantage.
So it's more of and that's part of the transparency as well.
Yeah.
And
we think that's an important aspect for anybody's investment portfolio, that this would be a part. We think the cannabis sector would be a good addition to anybody's portfolio because it has growth prospects that, let's frankly, other sectors are not going to have in the next couple of years. So cannabis is a good sector. If you're going to invest and you want to do privates, do some privates, but have some public exposure as well, and have it managed by people who have done this in the past and have experience with it.
Very, very interesting. So would you recommend that investors have sort of a diversified portfolio that way, publicly and privately traded?
I think it's always important for investors to diversify. Yes. That's kind of a tenet of investing anyway. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. Exactly. So, I think that when you look at your investment sectors as a whole, you weight them based on where you think the upside is, right, where you're going to get the most bang for your buck. And, I think this year, 2020, I think next year, 2021, are going to be great years for the sector once we kind of go through the COVID-19 crash or whatever we're calling it.
Sure.
One of the things to note is that we've been sidelined on our investments this entire year. So we haven't invested at all because, right, with my healthcare background, I had some kind of insight on what was going on in China with this.
Right.
And I knew it was coming here. So, and I didn't know I didn't realize how bad it would be, but I knew it was coming. So we we just stepped back a little bit, and that took a little bit of it was difficult, right? Because you start a fund on January 1st, you want to invest.
Yeah.
And I wanted to invest.
You're ready to go.
But we didn't. Yeah, we were ready to go, but we kind of kept that disciplined approach, which is something that is good for me. I mean, even in 2008, my funds in Symmetry were down just over 11%.
Right.
So I'm a very conservative kind of investor, but I think this space has enormous potential, and I'm really excited about it. But we're all in dry powder right now.
Yeah. You got to be cautious, I guess, to an extent. But speaking of that, have you guys noticed what trends have you noticed because of this halt? Have you seen anything kind of change from an investment trend standpoint?
Well, the opportunity here is like many rapid sell-offs. Whether it's high tech or the .com or name any of the bubbles that have hit. Right. Unfortunately, the cannabis sector went through a struggle in late 2018, all of 2019. And so there's been a lot of headwinds which have driven these valuations from very, very rich prices to the pendulum effect of all the way over to very highly discounted prices.
Yes. And
so the discipline that Kellie has, I can't speak for myself, but the discipline that Kellie has in buying has kept us on the sidelines. And the opportunity we feel is immense because headwind after headwind has driven the cannabis sector down.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing huge opportunity in pricing in ancillary companies that are out there in the cannabis space. The MSOs, or the multi-state operators in the United States, we're seeing good value there. The IT portion of the cannabis division, we're seeing enormous discount. So I would say those would be the three trends we're seeing that are the ancillary is really interesting to us, as well as the medical. And it's interesting while we go through this crisis and there's so much headline about vaccines and so forth. We are going to see a huge advancement in medicinal properties coming out of the cannabis plant within the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah,
and so there's the immediate discounting and pricing,
right,
and then you have capital that will end up moving back into the market.
Yep,
and then you have the phase of medicinal companies starting to bring that curve up. And then the last phase of it is actual mergers and acquisitions once we have legalization throughout the United States. So does that answer your question?
It really does, very thoroughly. Thank you very much, as a matter of fact. In fact, that's a great place for us to, start wrapping up. But before we go, I want to make sure that everybody knows how they can reach out to Medicus, to you guys, to talk if they have a publicly traded company that might be looking for some assistance. How can they find you?
They can contact us through our website, medicuslp.com.
Yeah.
I mean, are you going to put the phone number?
No, it's okay. They can go to medicuslp.com. You can also find them on the Wrazel investment marketplace as well, because Medicus is a great friend to Wrazel, and we certainly want to promote them as such. So we have them and their fund on our website, so you can check it out there as well. Kellie, Michael, thank you so much for being with me today. I really do appreciate your time. Look forward to doing it again soon.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And stay safe.
Absolutely. You too. My pleasure. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.